I put together a 10 item list of things that either I have changed about my home to make it more minimalist, more clutter-free, easier to clean, or it's things that I eventually down the road am going to change about this house and make it a lot simpler. Now, not everything you can change immediately. It does take time, it takes energy, and it takes money to change big things around your house. But I think these are 10 relatively easy wins that you can think about as you're going through your decluttering process or you're changing things about your home. So the first one that I would never buy again, and I've gotten rid of myself in the past, is a curio cabinet. The big curio cabinets, the oversized large ones, the farmhouse look curio cabinets that are just super heavy, very hard to clean, and kind of overwhelming in any space, even if you have a very large room. We had one I put in our kitchen around the time we moved in, around 7 years ago, and I painted it white, and I was very happy with it for a little while. But what I've noticed is that it was a clutter catcher. It was a clutter catcher. It was where I threw a bunch of junk that I just didn't know where to put. It's the reason I got all these extra cups and glasses from my grandmother when she was getting rid of her stuff, because I just had this very large piece of furniture that I felt like I need to fill up. So once I started really decluttering and getting rid of a lot of things around 4 or 5 years ago, I decided that I just didn't need this very large, oversized piece of furniture because I didn't have all of the things to fill it with anymore anyway. Number 2 is something that I've never been lucky enough to have until we bought this house 7 years ago, and that is having cabinets in our kitchen that go all the way up to the ceiling. I didn't know how valuable they were until living in this house, because every other house I ever had lower cabinets. And so it was a place where I always threw that extra stuff I never knew what to do with. Also, it just became very dusty, and so I'd have to go up there every once in a while and find all the dust bunnies and dust them all out from the top of the kitchen cabinets. Now that I have cabinets that go all the way up to the ceiling, they're so valuable to me because it's one less thing for me to have to manage. If you don't have cabinets that go all the way to the top, the only thing I would suggest is to not put anything up there. Don't use it as a clutter catcher like I always did. Don't even look at it as a storage place. Take everything out that you have there and find places that you can put those things that are easier to access, because then when you do have to go up there and you do have to dust it eventually, it's not going to be such a hassle to have to move everything back out. Number 3 is something I have very intentionally gone through this house and tried to get rid of as many as possible, and that's blinds. Now, while we do still have very few around this house, I always keep them up because I hate dusting them and I hate keeping them clean. It is one of those things that personally is up there with having to clean the bathroom as one of my least favorite jobs. So around our house, instead, I've taken most of them down and I've put curtains in place, because I find curtains to be easier to take down and wash and clean than having to get one of those like gloves or a rag and try to dust off all the blinds when I feel like it's one of those jobs that is just never done. The only thing that I would recommend if you don't have curtains or you don't like curtains is I went to IKEA a few years ago and we bought one of these pull down blinds, which doesn't have any of the slats, so it's much easier to dust when we need to, but they were expensive. The one I got was in the sales section, so it doesn't exactly fit the door perfectly, but it was good enough for $12. But I know they are kind of expensive, and that's why we haven't put them anywhere else around our house. Number 4, I feel like is an easy win if you can start working on it maybe this weekend or maybe even today, and that is decluttering your countertops in your kitchen. If you're like me, I don't really like to cook. I will cook and I will bake, but it's not something that I'm super overjoyed to go do. So what I've done is cleaning off the countertops means that when I get into the kitchen, it's not a huge hassle of moving things around and trying to find everything. I know exactly where everything is. I even took all of the baking utensils, cooking utensils off of the countertop. I put them in the drawers. And then it's just one less thing for me to have to visually look at when I walk into the kitchen. So what I would suggest if you're having a hard time figuring out what you can get rid of, what you can maybe put away in the cabinets, is I would hush that spot. So I read about hushing the room from this woman called McQuillan, I believe her name is, and she has a website which talked about how she hushes her living room and spaces around her house also. But it basically means for 24 hours, you take everything out of that room and you just live in a space that is clutter free. visually, you don't see any pictures, you don't see the coffee pot, you won't see any toasters out. Everything is out of that space, and maybe you'll put it in a closet so that you don't see it. Then after 24 hours, you can slowly bring back the things that you did miss that you would want in that space. I have personally done that many, many times. I just didn't know it was called hushing the room, but now I do, and so I'm going to use the term. But clearing out a space and then slowly bringing back the things that you value is going to help trigger your brain what you actually need every morning or maybe every evening, and keep those things out as opposed to just spreading everything out just in case you might need it at some point. So number 5, I've gone back and forth with, but now we have an induction cooktop. So I've been through the whole gamut, and while I do enjoy cooking with gas, I will say that having the induction cooktop, we had to switch out our countertop cooktop anyway. I love having an induction cooktop. It is so easy to clean. There are no little places that food gets down where you have to try and figure out how to take all the pieces apart and clean them one at a time. All I do is I'll take a wet or soapy rag and I'll just wipe over it, and that's basically it. It takes the hassle out of the cooking process when it comes to cleaning up, putting things away, or wanting to get started. Your cooktop is so easy to clean. So if I was to do this again, I would always go with an induction cooktop from now on. Now, I'm not a super baker, so I understand if you really love gas or need gas in your home, but if you have the chance to change things up, 100% recommend try induction cooktops. All right, we're already on to number 6, but if you like learning about minimalism and decluttering and you want to join a community that supports that lifestyle, then hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you are decluttering and organizing with us here on Minimalist, then throw a heart emoji down below and let us know that we're all in this together. Number 6 is those over-the-top shower curtains. Cleaning curtains that are extremely oversized and big and have lots of ruffles and frou-frou are difficult to clean. When we lived in our last house, I had a curtain that had a lot of detail in it, and it was really beautiful. But what I will say is that even when I took it down to clean it, it was hard to keep clean. Now all I do is I keep a very simple curtain, and even the splash curtain that goes inside of our shower is fabric. And so you don't have to worry about the plastic stuff getting all moldy and yucky, and make your life a little bit easier. Number 7 is one of the best things that I ever did for this house, and that is getting rid of excess furniture. Now, when I think about excess furniture, I was probably one of the worst people you could ever meet when it comes to buying excess furniture. I loved going to thrift stores. I loved going to yard sales. I would drag my husband around every Saturday to yard sales and look for pieces of furniture when we moved into this house, because I thought maybe I'd like this kind better, or maybe if I had enough coffee tables, my life would be easier. Because this was a bigger home than we were used to before, I just felt like I didn't want there to be any blank space. I didn't want people to walk in this house and think we didn't have the money or we didn't have the ability to buy furniture for this home that we're in. And that mentality led me to buying and keeping way more than I would ever need in this house. I got rid of all of the side tables, all of the extra pieces of furniture in our house. Like 80 to 90% of the furniture in our house was just excess, things that we didn't need. And so once I got rid of that, I just realized how much easier it is to live with space. Number 8 is something that I actually have never had myself, but it is something that I've experienced with other people's home, and that is having stainless steel fridges or appliances. It's one of those things that I always notice a lot of fingerprints on stainless steel stuff, and I'm sure they've come up probably with some stainless steel fridges now that don't keep any fingerprints. But what I will say is that our little black fridge, which is not super appealing to look at, you don't notice all those little fingerprints as you're walking by. It's very easy to keep clean and not have to worry about it so often. So if you are feeling overwhelmed by cleaning your fridge all of the time, then when you do upgrade, you might want to think about different options. Number 9, I still have one in our house that I am so ready to let go of, but like I said, I'm waiting to find the perfect one, and that is ceiling lights that are difficult to clean. The ceiling light in our hallway upstairs is very annoying. It is very difficult to clean. I have to get my husband and a ladder, and we have to take it down and wipe it off. So often it is just covered in dust because it is such a hassle to have to keep clean. I would buy as simple and minimalistic of a ceiling fan as possible. Now, the chandelier that we do have in our dining room, I do really like. It's not the easiest to clean, but at least it is skinny and light, and so it's easy for me to clean myself. Whereas the light that we do have in the hallway is very infuriating and harder for me to clean, especially by myself. Number 10, I would totally recommend this to anyone that is changing up their house right now or decluttering, and that is to get rid of any rugs that are hard to clean. I know people are big fans of rugs, and I totally get why. I think they are beautiful. I think they do have a place in people's homes. But if you are having a hard time cleaning them and it is becoming frustrational, or you're spending a ton of money to get people to come out and clean your rugs, and you don't want to spend those funds on a rug anymore, then get rid of it. I live with almost no rugs in this house. And the other thing that I have noticed is the stair treads that we have on our stairs going down. One, they are a safety thing. We've got to have them. I've fallen down these stairs before we put them on. These stair treads are great. They are very easy for me to just wipe down with some soap or to vacuum over them and clean. But also, if they do get so dirty or so messed up, then I can easily just replace one instead of having to take the whole carpet off and replace the whole thing. These stair treads from Amazon are so great that you can just take that one off, replace it, and put it back. Now, I know it's not as fancy as some people's stair treads, but it does the job and it makes my life a lot easier. I hope you've enjoyed learning some tips and tricks that I have done in my own home. And if you have liked any of these, then please throw a comment down below, or if you have some suggestions and your own ideas, I would love to hear them. If you enjoy learning about minimalism and decluttering, then please join this community and subscribe down below, and I will see you guys again very soon.